Carlsbad, People, Purpose, and Impact, an essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Brett Schanzenbach. I'm the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce. I am your host today, and I'm excited to have with me Kevin Sharrar. Kevin is a realtor with Sharrar, builds community at Compass. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining me today.
It's my honor to be here. Thank you.
It's great to have you. So I was doing some background, digging and looking into researching my guests as I always do. And I saw that you went to school here in Southern California, but I couldn't tell if you were a San Diego guy or not. I mean, it looks like you went to Fullerton and UCI. What was your background in that part of life?
Oh, thanks for asking. Real quick version is graduated from high school, went to Saddleback College, got the bug for architecture in high school and drafting.
Nice.
Tried college for a couple of years. My future bride, I followed to Fullerton. She was going to Hope International University that's there, and I followed her there and took a job with an architectural firm in Fullerton. Dabbled at Cal State Fullerton with some classes, but honestly, I just loved what I was doing in architecture. I went to work full-time with an architect there.
Nice.
And that was that. And then,
that's great. So the whole architecture, the design side, huh?
Actually, it was not on the designs particular. It was more in the design development, and because then I went from there to a firm in Irvine, a national firm, and honed my skills in design development and working with home builders and city government and the like.
Yeah, and so I saw that because then you morphed into the California building industry.
Yeah.
And had a stint there. So talk to us about that.
Well, that was I was compelled to make more money.
There
we
you
had
go.
a son, Braden. Our son just was 1 year old, and we were living in Orange County, which was very expensive. Still is. And I was having a lot of fun working with home builders, national home builders, and I was working with project managers. And the project managers were, the money aside, they were having more fun. I saw it this way. If it, picture a wagon wheel. The home builder, the project manager, was the hub, and I was one of the cogs, along with the landscape architect, interior designer, civil engineer, and so on. And I wanted to be the hub. I wanted to be the hub that connected all the cogs. It just so happened to make a little bit more money. So Tracy, my bride of 40 years this year, by the way.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very patient woman, obviously. And I train easily. We made a decision that she would be a stay-home mom.
Yeah.
So that allowed us to do that. So I worked. I was there for about a year, and then on to the BIA.
Yeah.
That ended up in Central California. We ended up moving to Fresno in the early 90s and worked with some home
you were
builders.
the executive director of the BIA of the Delta, is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Executive officer there.
Very nice. So, and you and I have had some conversations offline before about this because I went from doing real estate to being in association management, and you went the opposite way, association management into real estate.
Exactly.
So we we're the inverse of each other.
Yep.
So what brought you guys to Carlsbad?
Oh, that's a great question. So we're beach people.
Yeah.
Central California, Central Valley is very far from the beach. So my bride Tracy at the time was a realtor and coached by Buffini and Company right here in Carlsbad.
Yeah, sure. Good member of ours.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Award-winning member, large company of the year at one point, I believe. We came down for a conference. We saw their offices off Armada at the time. That's where their offices
I remember
were.
that.
And quite frankly, we spent some time driving around Carlsbad, and it immediately felt like home. Couldn't get it off our minds. We had a good thing going in Sacramento at the time, so it was Fresno to Sacramento. We weren't looking to leave there. It was a great place for us and our kids. Tracy had a thriving real estate business. I was very gratified as the executive officer of the BIA, the Delta, and advocating for new home builders and
Yes,
the like.
very
And-
important.
But we couldn't get Carlsbad out of our minds.
Ah,
3 weeks later, we put our house on the market,
mm,
got into a rental, and 9 months later moved here. June
Wow.
1st, 2007, started a real
Wow.
estate business here.
so Tracy preceded you into the real estate world.
Yes.
And so she had a thriving business up there. You guys moved down here, and I'm assuming, but I'll have you tell, that probably reestablished herself here in real estate. And is that when you joined in on the fun? Was when you guys moved to Carlsbad, you joined the real estate side?
Yeah, not initially. I didn't get my
Okay.
license initially. I didn't really know what I was going to do.
Sure.
Maybe join the staff here at the BIA. Had great relationships set up with Paul Tryon, for example, the CEO at the time, and there was some opportunities there. But remember June 1st, 2007. We all know what happened in 2007, 8, and 9. So the BIA was not growing. In fact, they were contracting, like a lot of real estate related businesses.
Absolutely.
So I ended up becoming Tracy's unlicensed assistant, if you will.
Gotcha.
We realized that in starting a new business in the beginning of what became what we know now as the Great Recession, we had challenges.
Yeah.
Our business approach was relational.
Yep.
So we had to develop. It took time to develop relationships, and I can't wait to talk about how the chamber's role in that. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, which was pivotal. But yeah, that was it. So it was about 4 years in. Bottom line, I had an epiphany. Our son, who's 33 now, I remember his high school years going very quick. Our daughter was in her freshman year,
Yes.
Savannah. And I had an epiphany one day that Tracy was, because the demands of being the only licensed realtor in the house, she was going to miss out.
Mm,
And I thought, well, if I get my license, I'm right there. It made sense as a family and our overall goals to be there for our daughter while she was still at home for me to get my license so that we could tag team it, if you will. And I did. And that was almost 12 years ago.
very nice. Yes. The real estate, the challenges and the benefits of your industry and what you do, and you and Tracy at the time, it's very flexible, but you're always on. Like the demands feel like they're nonstop.
Yep.
So
It can.
It can be. Yeah. Exactly.
There's the nice thing about the industry is that I'm a small business, so I determine my office hours, if
Yes.
you will,
Yes.
and I have found it more gratifying if I have boundaries where I have put my priorities of my family and the like. For example, Sunday is family day. That's the rule. I do make exceptions, obviously. I have to serve my clients
Occasionally,
well.
sure. Yeah.
But the rule is and I try and take a second day during the week,
Yeah.
if possible.
Oh, that's wonderful. We're going to take a brief pause. We're talking to Kevin Sharrar with Sharrar Builds Community at Compass. And when we come back, we're going to dive into more of the real estate business and Kevin's philosophy of business and how he has built his company. We'll be right back. Stay with us. So, Kevin, we were talking about before the break, your transition out of the building industry into real estate. Let's talk for a few minutes about the business of real estate, because it's an interesting animal, and I like to refer to it as the ultimate supply and demand economy. And that has its challenges locally. Talk a little bit about the real estate industry.
Well, that's a broad subject.
Yes.
But as it relates to me and my clients, yes, it is. I think it is the best example of a supply demand, what a lot of us learned in Economics 101. And obviously locally, as we have seen nationally since the beginning of the pandemic, which is thankfully by and large behind us.
Yeah.
With interest rates at 3% or lower, we really saw that in full force.
Yep.
And we had, at that time, we had people that wanted to sell for various reasons, but they didn't know where they were going to go. They had no idea if they were going to get a replacement home. So they stayed put. So the supply was way down for that reason.
Yes.
Buyers way up with those kind of rates. Of course, the demand's going to be up. San Diego on all levels of the market. Now what we're having is a very similar numbers, although even a little bit lower on the supply side. We're at about 40% right now
Man.
of the historical average of listings, active listings on the market.
40%.
40%.
Ouch.
Yeah. So 60, we're missing 60+%. And the buyers are feeling that with choice. The sellers, though, they're not leaving as well, but for a different reason. I like to call it golden handcuffs.
Mm.
The home that they're in right now is at 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
75% about, if they have a mortgage on the home, is at less than 4%. 28% are less than 3.
Yeah.
I have a VA client that is my record low for a client, VA 30-year fixed at 2.25.
Oh my goodness. That's
So-
just free money practically.
It virtually is, and it helps because prices are so high in San Diego, it helps with that buying power.
Yeah.
So they're sitting on a very nice in their home that stays with the home, unfortunately. So if they were to
Yes.
sell and move, they're giving up that 3 or 4% rate, or 2.25%, and right now we're sitting at about almost 7, 6.5 to 7. That's a big delta. That's a big 30
deal.
or 40% house.
Yeah.
And so if they sell at $1 million to have the same payment with the higher rates, they're buying 600 or 700. Well, that's a completely different house. They're not doing that.
Yeah.
The sellers right now that I'm working with, and I have a pleasure to work with through referral, 98% of my business is referral
Sure.
from my existing clients, is the life change.
Yeah.
It's relocation, first and foremost.
Yes.
A lot of people working from home, they have
Mhm.
the luxury of living wherever they want.
Yep.
So they're going to Seattle, Idaho, Tennessee. My last one, upstate New York.
Yeah.
They like extreme weather, apparently, or they'll learn to like it. That's the number one. Number two would be divorce.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big life change for
Sure.
households.
Yeah.
And third would be I'm working with my newest listing coming on is working with within a trust. So the primary the people I help buy the home are gone
Yes.
or in a home. One's gone, one's in a home, assisted living, and now I'm working with the kids to sell the
Yeah.
property.
No, it makes sense. And what you said about those golden handcuffs, it's so true. I was excited for my son and his wife about, I guess 2 years ago-ish. I'm trying to remember exactly when, but they were able to close escrow on their first house, and it's not
fantastic.
not here locally.
Yeah.
They live in North Dakota. So, but they got, a ridiculously low interest rate. Like you were pointing out, I think they were around the 2.75.
Fantastic.
So happy for them, but it's like they will never see that rate again in their life,
Not
right?
likely. Not likely.
No, not likely. So I'm happy for them, but at the same point, I know, and again, North Dakota, so this situation's different, right? They were able to get a true starter home, as a young couple. So 4-bedroom, 2-bath. So they can definitely grow into that home, and it's not like they're going to have to move up 2 years from now. But I know what you mean about those golden handcuffs, and I've heard some other realtors talk about that as well, where it's just like this disincentive to sell and do something because your rate's stinking low. I mean, I refied, got it down to 2.9. I mean, I'm super happy.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your philosophy of doing business. And we've known each other since I got here at the Carlsbad Chamber about 4.5 years ago. And I want to pause and recognize that you have been recognized as one of our go-givers of the year in the past.
Thank you.
And talk about the go-giver philosophy and your philosophy within that and how you do.
Well, thanks for asking. I am excited about this book, and I like to give you and the listeners a little bit of a history on the book because I'm very close to it. So I love The Go-Giver. It's a little story about a powerful business idea. And it's told as a story, which for me, I don't know about you, Brett, but I enjoy reading a little bit more when I'm kind of reading somebody's story.
I do too, yeah.
As opposed to an academic approach.
Yep.
So my philosophy, this book aligns well with my philosophy in serving, namely my clients, but everyone that I come in contact with, to be honest. So, but let's talk about how this book ended up in my lap and ended up, quite frankly, in this building. And I got to go back to 2009.
Okay.
NetForce One started.
Yep.
So Bev Jorgensen, the former vice president of
Yes.
member services, called Tracy and said, quite frankly, I have an idea I want to talk to you about. I want to start a group. And they met for 6 months, and they launched an inaugural NetForce One. Now
Yep.
there's 5?
That's right. We're
Oh
up
my
to
God.
5 now.
And growing.
And growing.
and
Yep.
that's why they called it One. The whole idea was to duplicate it.
That's right.
From the get-go. So the bottom line is that group started, and then within a couple of years, summertime came around, and the group decided to kind of let's enjoy summer, take a little break from the normal routine, and every other week let's all read a book and do a book club together.
Nice.
And one of the members introduced The Go-Giver as a first book. We're doing that as we sit right now. NetForce One is reading Think,
Nice.
Do, Say
Yep.
by Ron Tite. Fantastic book about how to engage people in such a way that you can build trust.
Nice.
And so we're going through that. But anyway, back to The Go-Giver. So The Go-Giver is a really fundamental read about how to serve people and how to give. And it's broken down into 5 laws. The first law, the law of value. The law of value. Basically, that's, to me, reminds me to give more value than I receive in compensation. The second law is the law of compensation. And that basically reminds me, that law is, it reminds me of that my compensation is determined how many people I serve and how well I serve them.
Nice.
The third law, the law of influence. The law of influence is determined by how abundantly I put other people's interests first.
Nice. Yeah, I love that.
The law of authenticity is the fourth law, and that is determined by the fact that the best gift that I can give is myself. And then lastly, but not least, the law of receptivity. Now, this is a law of receiving.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, this is a giving book.
Right.
What's that about? Well, the law of receiving states that to be an effective giver, you must stay open to receiving.
So true.
So this book for me is a framework. In fact, I'm hoping to export this book to the Fallbrook Chamber.
Nice.
I have a client to help buy a property. Her and her husband, her family, an acre property in Fallbrook. Talked to her 2 weeks ago. Hey, what's going on in your world? I do check in with
Sure.
as many clients as I can, 20, 25 a week on average. And what's going on in your world? She told me she just started her own business about less than a year ago. She told me that she had joined the Fallbrook Chamber. I said, "Tell me about that. What do you
Yeah.
do? Are you active? What have you?" "Yes, I'm very active." I said, I have something I want to talk to you about. And I talked to her about the Go-Giver book and the 5 laws, and she was excited.
Nice.
And I said, "I'd love to send that to you as a gift." So she's reading it now. My hope is that it infiltrates the Fallbrook Chamber.
Love it.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Once again, an example, if that happens, of the Carlsbad Chamber being to the benefit of all around.
Absolutely. I love that. Spreading some of the success we've had to other places. The CEO at the Fallbrook Chamber is a wonderful lady, and I'm sure once it gets to her, she'll be very interested in looking at how to bring that in. So that's fantastic. So you've been so first it was Tracy, but then between Tracy and yourself, you guys have been a part of that NetForce group since its inception.
Correct.
And you continue on with that, which is awesome. And for those that don't know, I mean, NetForce is it's like a melding of like a lead/referral group, a mastermind group, support, business support. But of course, one of the cores is to share referrals and help each other in business through that philosophy, that Go-Giver philosophy. So thank you for that and all that you've done in that group.
It's my pleasure.
So coming back to our wonderful industry of real estate, here's the ultimate question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Is it a good time to buy?
That depends.
Ah, okay.
That depends. I know what you were expecting me to say. Of course it is. It's always a great time to buy. That depends. I think the reason I say that is everyone's different. Everyone has different goals. It all comes down to the goals. If you want to start accumulating wealth through real estate, 60% of the net worth in the U.S. for the majority of us is accumulated through real estate.
Yeah.
Whether primary property and or investment property. If you want to begin that going, if you want to pay off your mortgage versus your landlord's mortgage, if you want to possibly take advantage of tax breaks, due to mortgage interest deductions that you don't have as a renter, if you want to not have to get permission to do anything to the home you're living in, I think, Brett, it comes down to this. I believe this with all my heart. There's no place like home.
Yeah.
Home is where somebody starts a new life. Mm-hmm. There's the pride of ownership. We've heard that. The American dream. We've heard that term too. Yep. And if somebody is in my office and wants to begin that journey, yes, then it's a great time to buy.
Awesome. Okay. Now the flip side, is it a good time to sell?
That depends. That depends. With sellers right now, they're, again, because their peers are not selling, there's not a lot of choice. I have a different approach to whether or not it's a good time to sell. Where are you going?
Yeah.
What's a motivating factor?
Yeah.
For the ones that are going outside the area, like I mentioned, my past clients in Boise, Idaho, Tennessee, Seattle, upstate New York. I would like to mention that I'm involved and have access and a member of two very large networks of like-minded agents, and I was able to find like-minded agents in all those areas for them. Nice. Now, if they want to stay here, before a sign goes in the yard, we're going to go look out and say, where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? And see if that's possible.
Right.
And if they're sufficiently motivated to go through the emotional ups and downs, the stressful ups and downs, and to be able to see that through before a sign goes in the yard. Because at the end of the day, it's not about a sale for me. It's about whatever their ultimate goals are.
Knowing where they're going to next, you got to have that in mind when you sell, right?
Yeah.
No, that's great. So you mentioned your two kids. I'm assuming they're older now?
Yes, they are.
And what's their status in life? How are they doing?
They're doing well. Very proud of Braden. Braden's 33. He's in the music industry.
Oh, nice.
In Pasadena.
Excellent.
And I'm extremely proud of him, if I can say this, Brett, that he, on his own volition, I had to learn it the hard way, but on his own volition, he determined he wanted a balanced life. So he's back playing soccer. He played soccer in his from kindergarten through middle of high school. That's when he found his passion for music. And he's back playing in two teams, adult teams in Pasadena. Wow. Actually, on Father's Day, we drove up and got to see him play.
Nice.
And one of his Father's Day gifts was what we call in soccer is a hat trick. He scored 3 goals.
Nice.
So he still has it. And then Savannah, she's here. She's good. 27.
Nice.
And she is in the commercial property management industry with JLL.
Very nice.
Here. And
so in the real estate related business,
lives in
great.
Oceanside and loves the Oceanside vibe.
Yeah. So I know you're also very active in your church and faith, which is wonderful.
Yes, sir.
But what I didn't know until I did some research is your passion for vinyl records.
Oh, don't get me started.
My 14-year-old daughter is getting into vinyl records for some reason. I'm like, why? This is, she's the generation of Apple Music and Spotify, but she's into vinyl records for some reason,
Yep.
I don't know what's the attraction there, but
that's just a whole different sound.
Yeah.
And also, it's very nostalgic. I mean, I probably have 250.
Wow.
Just got 3 new ones. I go down to Luz a lot down in Encinitas. And sometimes I score on the used ones, scratch free and all. But, it's very nostalgic. I have of those albums, I have about a dozen to 18 that I've actually had longer than I've known my bride. And I'd met Tracy June 10th, 1980.
Wow.
So you want to start talking music like Styx, Paradise Theater? Yep, original. I still spin it.
That's great. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us about your business philosophy, about the real estate industry and business. And we appreciate your engagement here at the Chamber and in our NetForce groups and all of that. And you are a true go-giver, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Brett. Can't say enough about the Chamber.
Thank you,
and
man.
yourself.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio. And please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.